Hello, welcome to Thank God It's Friday. One of the questions that was sent in a few weeks ago was about atonement. The word atonement originally meant at one-ment, e.g. being at one with God. It's the name often given to the theology of salvation through the death of Jesus on the cross at Calvary. In simple terms, it's how we answer one of the most fundamental questions of Christianity. Why did Jesus die? What did, or indeed what does, his death achieve? And it should be right up my street, as it's filled to overflowing with big words and random bits of Greek or Latin. However, it's also a topic which has led to a mountain of scholarly books, and it's important to note that the Church has never made any one understanding of the atonement official or orthodox. Throughout the various early Church debates on the nature of the Trinity or the person of Christ, the councils never tried to pin down the exact meaning of the atonement. So I can't just rock up today and tell you what the answer is. This, I think, is especially important to recognise because there is one model of atonement that tends to be presented as the orthodox understanding of the Church. It's likely to be the one people can express for themselves. It's known as penal substitution. It talks about how we are guilty of sin and deserve the punishment of death. But instead of us being punished, Jesus died in our place. He paid the price for our sin. In this model of atonement, the crucifixion reconciles us to God through the saving blood of Christ. Now, I'm not suggesting that this is an unsatisfactory understanding of atonement. It is one of the models of salvation that has persisted for centuries, and there are ample biblical passages to support this understanding. But there are ample biblical passages to support different understandings and theories of the atonement, and we should never limit the saving work of Christ, especially when the biblical record is so much broader. Now, in order to ensure that I'm not still talking about all of this when I'm old and grey, or older and greyer at least, then I need to limit the scope of this inquiry. Rather than breaking down the various models of atonement one by one, I want to approach today with a different focus. In order to understand the saving work of Christ, it's helpful to start by understanding what we mean by salvation. When the Christian faith calls the world fallen, it's taking a realistic view of the situation we all know and recognise. The world is a messed up place. The distortions of life run deep. But I want to suggest that there are at least three ways we can think about how our lives are messed up. Three constant factors in our awareness of the human predicament. Firstly, there is a sense of alienation or estrangement. We can go through life and feel somehow disconnected, either from other people, from our own inner being, or even from reality itself, of not being at home in the world. People might sometimes express this as having a God-shaped hole in our hearts. But what we are identifying within ourselves is a loss of contact from the ultimate basis of life. We feel that somehow we are separated from God. The hymn Amazing Grace expresses this estrangement so simply. I once was lost, but now am found. The second aspect of how we can sense our lives are not right is a failure to fulfill our potential as human beings. Whether this is expressed as a longing for more, or a recognition that too often we go astray and we let ourselves down, there is a universal longing to be more than we have become. If we believe that we are made in the image of God, well, it rarely feels like it. The Apostle Paul speaks of us falling short of the glory of God, and we recognise that we have failed to measure up to who we could be. Now, although secular observers of the human race might speak of alienation and failure to reach potential, Christians also have a third dimension to consider that underlies the other two. The term sin indicates a failure in the personal relationships between human beings and their Creator, due, of course, to rebellion on our side. Sin is actually a term that comes from archery. It means to miss the mark. Through biblical terms such as disobedience or unfaithfulness, we feel ourselves to be on the cosmic naughty step. And day by day, we recognise a human refusal to accept God's will and purpose in our lives. Sin is an expression of a world in revolt. Now, understanding salvation more broadly is crucial, I want to suggest, for two reasons. Firstly, we do not all start in the same place when we come to realise at the moment of justification that Jesus has died for us. You see, if our primary focus in coming to Jesus is about wanting to fill the God-shaped hole in our hearts, then models of atonement that focus on sin may not be the best starting point for us. But also, and I think this is crucial for all of us, there will be times in our Christian journeys when we might feel the human predicament differently than we have in the past. So, for example, although we might believe our sin has been taken care of in some way, we might at any moment feel we are still failing to fulfill our potential as followers of Jesus. There are models of atonement that will speak to us in such situations. In fact, there are models of atonement that help us to appreciate the saving work of Christ, whatever our understanding of where we are today and the human predicament in general. Now that, of course, has not told you what these models of atonement are. I recognise that this is not even a partial answer to the question that has been raised. It's really only the groundwork behind an answer. But I'm still going to stop there because I hope it opens the door to you thinking more widely about your life, the human predicament, atonement, and the comprehensive saving work of Christ. Amen.